The story of the leper healed by Jesus, recorded in Mark 1 verses 40 to 45, is an awe-inspiring testimony of how divine compassion and human faith can converge to transform a life. More than a physical miracle, this narrative is a rich demonstration of redemption, restored dignity, and Jesus' power to break cultural and religious barriers to reach the marginalized. Do you want to hear more stories about the characters who were part of Jesus' life and the biblical universe as a whole? Give this video a like and subscribe to the channel, because every day we reveal a new character with an inspiring story. Imagine the life of the leper before his encounter with Jesus. He lived in complete isolation. Leprosy in first-century Jewish culture was not merely a skin disease. It was a sentence of exclusion. Anyone diagnosed with leprosy was deemed ceremonially unclean according to the laws of Moses. This meant being cast out of society, separated from family, friends, and temple worship. Lepers were forced to live outside the cities in isolated camps, surviving on the charity of strangers who often despised them. The physical condition was horrifying: open sores, loss of sensation, deformities. But the emotional and spiritual suffering was equally devastating. The isolation stripped these individuals of their sense of belonging. They couldn't hug loved ones or touch anyone. All they had was the company of other lepers with whom to share their misery in a seemingly endless cycle of suffering and despair. This is why the act of this man approaching Jesus was an extraordinary demonstration of courage and faith. He knew that by law, he was supposed to keep his distance. He knew the people around him might react with disgust and try to drive him away. But he had something that outweighed his fear: the conviction that Jesus could help him. When he knelt before Jesus, the leper wasn't merely asking to be healed. He was declaring something far greater. "If you are willing, you can make me clean." These words reveal an unshakable faith in Jesus' authority and power. He didn't question whether Christ could heal him. He knew Jesus could. The only uncertainty was, does Jesus want to help me? That question echoes in the hearts of many people today. When we face impossible situations, it's easy to believe God can do something, but hard to believe He wants to do something for us. Yet the leper had the courage to express his need and trust in Jesus, leaving us a powerful example of how we should approach God. Jesus' response was as immediate as it was extraordinary. Before saying a word, he did something no one expected. He touched the leper. To understand the impact of this gesture, it's essential to consider the cultural and religious weight of touching a leper. Leprosy was seen as a divine curse, and any physical contact rendered the person ceremonially unclean. It was an apparently insurmountable barrier between the leper and the rest of society. But Jesus broke that barrier with a touch. He could have healed the man with just a word, as he had done in other miracles. However, he chose to touch him. Because Jesus knew the man didn't just need physical healing. He needed a touch that said, "You are not alone. You are worthy. You are loved." After touching him, Jesus said, "I am willing. Be clean." With these words, the impossible happened. The leprosy disappeared immediately. The man's skin was restored, clean and healthy. But something even greater occurred. His dignity was restored. He was no longer an outcast. He was a new person, ready to return to his family, his community, and the temple. After the healing, Jesus gave the man clear instructions: "Don't tell anyone, but go, show yourself to the priest and offer the sacrifices that Moses commanded for your cleansing as a testimony to them." This directive aligned with the law of Moses, which required anyone healed of leprosy to be examined by a priest to be officially declared clean. It was also a way of testifying to the religious leaders that God's power was working through Jesus. However, the man, overwhelmed with indescribable joy, couldn't contain the news. He began telling everyone what had happened. His story spread quickly, drawing crowds eager to see Jesus. While this made it difficult for Jesus to move freely in towns, the spiritual and emotional impact of this healing was immeasurable. This story offers us profound and eternal lessons. First, it challenges us to reflect on the courage required to approach Jesus in our darkest moments. The leper could have chosen to remain hidden, living in his pain. But he decided to act, driven by his faith. How often do we remain paralyzed by fear or shame when all we need to do is take the first step toward God? Second, Jesus' gesture teaches us about the importance of human touch and empathy. We live in a world where many people feel untouchable, whether emotionally, spiritually, or physically. Just as Jesus touched the leper, we are called to reach out to those who feel excluded, forgotten, or marginalized. Our touch may not heal physically, but it can bring comfort, dignity, and hope. Additionally, this story reminds us that Jesus is not afraid of our impurities. He doesn't withdraw from us because of our failures or weaknesses. Instead, he draws near, willing to cleanse and restore us completely. This gives us the courage to bring our wounds, sins, and pains to him, trusting that his grace is greater than any barrier. Finally, the impact of this miracle on the community challenges us to share God's works in our lives. The leper, moved by gratitude, became a living testimony of Jesus' power and compassion. His story inspired others to seek Christ. Likewise, our lives can be used to glorify God and lead others to experience His love and power. But there's something deeper in this story that deserves reflection. Leprosy in the Bible often symbolizes sin. Just as the leper was separated from the community, sin separates us from God. And just as the leper needed to be cleansed to be restored, we need Christ's forgiveness to be reconciled with. The healing of the leper, therefore, points to Jesus' redemptive work on the cross, where he took our impurities upon himself and gave us new life. So, ask yourself, what areas of your life need Jesus' touch? What burdens are you carrying that seem impossible to restore? The story of the leper reminds us that when we approach Christ with humility and faith, He not only can but wants to heal and transform us completely. If you liked this video and want to know more about the characters that surrounded the life of Christ and formed the rich biblical story, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and send this video to your friends. Turn on notifications to know when new videos come out.